William Morrow and HarperAudio present The Phoenix Ballroom, a novel by Ruth Hogan, performed by Jane Copland. To Ancients of Mumu. Blessed are the cracked, for they shall let in the light. Attributed to Groucho Marx. Prologue. Once upon a time, the ballroom was a sleeping beauty, waiting for the kiss of life. After years of neglect, the floor was velveted with dust that lay undisturbed, save for the featherlight tracery fashioned by resident mice. The once bright stars that studded the indigo ceiling were now a ghostly constellation, barely visible beneath the dirt, and the Art Deco chandeliers were choked with cobwebs. Along one wall, tall mirrors hung in a line, but the glass in each was mottled, a metallic leopard print that threw back only a scattered mosaic of imperfect reflections. A dozen or so chairs stood moth-eaten and forlorn around the edges of the room, like wallflowers waiting for an invitation to dance, and the piano in the corner was silent, its keys sticky with damp. Dead flies freckled the sills of the windows, where faded curtains still hung, ravaged by moths. But outside, as the sun slipped down behind the rooftops of the town, its fiery light caught crystal from a chandelier and ricocheted a rainbow across the ballroom floor. Up on the roof, Crow watched ribbons of gold and purple light bleed into blackness, and the moon swap shifts with the sun. Chapter 1. Venetia Hamilton Hargreaves wondered whether sandwiches and sausage rolls might have been a better choice than canapes as she waited for her husband's corpse outside St. Paul's Church. It would soon be lunchtime, and surely people would prefer something more substantial than a sliver of smoked salmon on a cracker smeared with cream cheese. Well, it was hard cheese now, too late to change. The air was heavy and humid, and a heat haze shimmered off the gleaming black paintwork of the hearse. A storm was forecast. The coffin was crowned with an elaborate spray of lilies and ivy, and the blooms trembled with every step the pallbearers took as Venetia followed them down the aisle. The same aisle that she had walked as a bride, carrying freesias and lilies of the valley on the arm of her handsome groom almost 50 years before. A sad, but somehow satisfying symmetry. This time she had her son at her side. It had been her son Heron who had insisted on canapes, specified the champagne, and booked the hotel where both were to be served after the service. Venetia's suggestions had been swatted aside because Heron had assured her that he knew best. He had even chosen her outfit, and she had let him have his way, for now. He took his place beside her in the front pew as the coffin was set down on trestles before the altar. His face was red with the effort of containing his emotions, and he clutched a meticulously folded handkerchief in his fist in case eventually he should fail. Heron was an unfortunately comic misnomer for one so deficient in stature and grace, but his grandfather had been a keen amateur ornithologist. He had named his children Hawk, Osprey, Nightingale, and Swan, and his sons had continued the practice with their own offspring. With his scarlet cheeks and tubby torso, poor Heron looked more like a crotchety Christmas card robin. Venetia placed her hand on his arm and gave it a gentle squeeze. She felt him tense at her touch and returned her hand to her lap. In contrast to her son's discomfort, Venetia was surprisingly sanguine for her public debut as a widow. She would miss her husband, of course she would, but in the way that one misses a comfortable cardigan that has shrunk in the wash and become too tight to wear. The church was almost full. Hawk Hamilton Hargreaves had been a popular and well-respected man, and he would have been gratified to see such an impressive turnout for his last hurrah. He had chosen the order of service himself, and Venetia was grateful.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?